by Egypt and Sumer, a bit like us. A whole load of stuff was imported.
Sorry, does it mean to Surrey go back a lot further though?
I think it might do. What we're talking about here, though, is the orthodox view of when kind of cities were established. So all of these civilizations probably go. In fact, many of them probably don't go back much longer, because there appears to have been some sort of catastrophe around 10,000 BC.
Well, because they found an awful lot of. I mean, they found like a city not far off.
They have, yes. I can't remember its name. It's called Mojave something or other.
Yeah, and also.
Thank you. Yeah.
And,
Thank you. Say it again.
Mohenjo-daro.
That's it.
Yeah. They found a city there, and also off Yonaguni in Japan.
And also loads off the coast again.
And it had to be going back sort of over 10,000 years.
Well, you see, that's what's being kept away from us at the moment. I think as soon as somebody can admit that there's some kind of city from 30 or 40 or 50,000 years ago that's capable of housing loads of humans and has watercourses and probably bitumen ovens and all of that.
Agriculture.
And agriculture.
You couldn't do it if you were a nomadic hunter-gatherer.
Well, that's again not quite right, because there was the Jomon in Japan, and we must be careful about not wandering too far off course here. But there was a people in Japan who were there from 10,000 BC to 200 BC, and they were hunter-gatherers.
Okay.
But what they were good at was storing stuff. They were good at cropping and storing what went on, so they didn't need to do agriculture. And the funny thing about them is that if you put it into a search engine, go and look at Jomon pottery, it is absolutely bloody stunning. Absolutely stunning. And they were good at pottery right from the word go, right from 10,000 BC. And their pottery changed a lot, as all pottery does. So again, we've got a good archaeological timeline on the Jomon, and they appear to have landed in Ecuador at least 3 times in historical past. So they appear to have hit beaches. They found Jomon pottery of 3 different eras on Ecuadorian beaches. I think the first landing was thought to be about 3,000 BC, and then after that. So we don't need to prove there was agriculture. And what about the Aborigines? They not only make a meal and a picnic and everything, they can make a whole band out of what they find in the place where they're eating, and then just put it all down and probably eat the instruments, and you can't tell they've ever been there, you know. So the thing is, we've kind of lost a bit of stuff. I think the people that would have been around would have been perhaps different from us. But it does seem to me that we've certainly got the vestiges of a numerate culture that existed a long time in our past, whoever they were. So none of these dates are probably actually the oldest dates. But this is nonetheless where history stands, even with all the information I've given you today. A pottery at 27,900 BC, we're still putting the oldest civilization at 3,500 BC.
You know, all these different like, whatever, all these different ages, did they have different gods, or was it the same god, or was it just different gods in each different?
It seems that there's quite a lot of consistency between people's myths and gods. Joseph Campbell effectively says there is only one hero with 1,000 faces. He says it's all the same story.
Then we're using BC and AD to describe the timeline.
Yeah, obviously that's just because I can't be asked to go BCE and all of that. I mean, I know it's culturally insensitive of me to do the before Christ thing, but it's just a habit for me.
Why did they get rid of all the sites? Like every time they built one, why did they destroy it and remove everything from there?
Well, once again, there's quite a lot of denial as to whether that actually happened. The only one we've found so far that roughly falls into that category for sure is Göbekli Tepe, which they buried rather than destroying it. What often happens with a destroyed site is somebody turns up afterwards. That's what happened at Avery. You know, it was all built to be one thing, and then some guys turned up and just started smashing the stones up.
But isn't that because, like, history, they try and eradicate history so the next generation only knows about them?
Yes, I'm really not sure why it happens, but it does seem to happen.
History is written by the women.
That's true, yes. Yeah.
They always collapse civilisations anyway, don't they?
Well, that's the thing, they come and go. These ones are all a bit amazing. That one, the Shang dynasty were not the first, there was another dynasty before them, but they weren't don't seem to be really very well connected, and the Shang seem to have sprung more or less fully formed with accountancy and conscription and armies and all of that. Once again, they would have been there for thousands of years. You know, this date here, well, especially that one, 1500 BC, that's applied to the Olmec, people called the Rubber people. But the local history, if you see pictures in local museums there locally their history goes back 3,500, 4,000 BC.
But technically, wouldn't all the continents have been together at that
Really?
time in one?
That would have been a long, long time ago, and that's another.
You know what I mean? No, I'm just saying, all these
Go on, expanding there, because they obviously did fit
all
together.
together in the
Yeah, they did.
at some point.
And that's exactly the point that's remembered in the Bible, where it says that all the waters were gathered together in one place and all the land was gathered together in another. But that's, again, we really don't want to go there right now. That's going to be into breakfast time.
How do they know that that was the case in the Bible? I mean, they couldn't survey the earth to see that you had Gondwana land.
So somebody did though. I think they probably could.
What?
Well, exactly. That's a good question. Do you know, for example, that our imperial foot, the 12-inch foot, is actually the basis for every single other foot on Earth? So the Iberian foot, the Egyptian foot, the inverse Iberian foot, they're all whole number fractions of our foot. And our foot takes into account somehow, in a way which I couldn't explain even if I could remember it, it takes into account the shape of the Earth and the fact that it's flattened at the top and the bottom and slightly wider at the middle. Yeah. There you go. So
What age did we start
you want to
looking
read
at
that stuff?
Questions and answers are all at the end, guys.
You want to read that stuff? You want to look at a book called Civilization 1. No, it's the measurement, the ancient measurement thing is honestly, it really is a talk all on its own. And it would appear that not only is it the basis, the whole number basis of all other feet on Earth, but that our imperial foot is somehow tied in with the size of your Sumerian barley corn. So, no time. State societies developed independently in different parts of the world with different features. Common features were reliance on productivity from successful agriculture, the development of complex social structures that are frequently associated, always associated really, with stylised or idealised portrait of leaders or deities. That's how we've done it this time round. That's how we're still doing it today. Let's hope we can do something about it. Pretty bloody sharpish. This is another major thing that developed all in a kind of a bit of a rush. We're not going to go into too much detail. Originally, we just had pictures made with reeds in the mud, in the kind of clay tablets. And there's just a picture of a head, which meant a head, and a picture of a bowl, which meant a bowl, and a head with a bowl meant rations. And slowly but surely they all turned sideways and became writing. Writing turned up all over the place, and it really came of age with this, the Phoenician alphabet. A single Canaanite is thought to have invented our alphabet, and all the other alphabets come from there. How about that? When they're dealing with syllables and stuff, you need 600 or 800 signs, or more, like the Japanese and the Chinese have to explain things. Once you can have a letter that makes the sounds, a letter for each of your sounds, you only need 26 symbols, 30 symbols to do everything. And they say that all of the alphabets came from this. The Phoenicians, of course, were originally the Canaanites. They were the people who were chased out of the Holy Land by Yahweh and the children of Israel. So I guess they had plenty of time on their hands for inventing new means of writing stuff down.
Phonetic, that's where it comes from.
Yes, phonetic, that's right. It was a real breakthrough. And then the other means of writing are quite interesting. These guys, they're partly a picture which tells you something, but they've also got a sound associated with them, and sometimes you can read them forwards and backwards. So it's not all in favour of the alphabets. These guys, the Maya, they had a lot of fun, but writing wasn't good for us. Permanent record systems developed along with complex organisational requirements of state societies.
I was just about to say, the funny thing is, to a certain extent, you've gone back to symbols.
Yes.
In the way that we use language.
Yeah, it is said that we started writing things down because we were forgetting it. That we started to write things down because we were forgetting. With our oral culture, we could remember things a lot better. There's a picture of some of the early stuff. You can see a boot and a hand and a head and the sled thing with something on it, and there's some numerals here as well. And this is a picture of how they changed over time. So that's the stuff we ended up with, and this is the Sumerian stuff we started with. So you can sort of see how one lot got hidden by another lot. This takes us to the last site of today. It's known as a Roman site. Once again, you can see we're a bloody long way up. We're a long way off the ground here. You can see why it's called Roman, because of these columns that are on it. But these columns are actually set on, you can see it, an absolutely bloody gigantic temple platform. really huge, and it was used way before the Romans turned up. This is a picture here. You can see the Roman columns, and you can see also Roman work here. But the Romans didn't manage to cover the original platform, which is here. Now, although this has got several holes and cracks and stuff in it, that's damage done by people fighting for control of this site. Because right from, it's called Baalbek, because it's an ancient Canaanite site, and they probably used it after somebody else. But after them, the Greeks came, and then the Romans, and then the Christians, and then the Muslims, and it has been fought over and over and over. And this is the damage done by people standing, fighting here. But this is a single stone, okay? This is a single massive stone. And if we go round the side here, so you can see we're at the side of the temples now, you can see that Roman stuff's been knocked over and built in here as part of the defences. But this is the end of that stone, okay? And next to this stone are two more. That one's like this. Here's two chaps to show you how big these stones are. Yeah. The smallest estimates I've seen of the weight of these is 1,200 tons each. The place is 3,500 feet above sea level. These are also 20 feet above ground level at this point. These big stones are 20 feet above the ground.
What does that hypothesise how they got there?
Magnetic
It seems to be
magnetic levitation.
yes, magnetic levitation is one of my favourites, and sounds are another one. Really, I mean, these obviously are these are the biggest single stones used anywhere on planet Earth, and that's not the funniest part, because if we there's your traditional really massive stone. So this is where all their stones came from. You can see where they worked them, and they had to drag them all the way over there. So these 1,000-ton or 1,500-ton stones were moved over there. If we then go around the corner of the thing, so we're now round the end, the pillars are up here somewhere. There's been a bit of erosion down here. Here's another character standing. Here's the end stone. Now look at the size of the stones it's sitting on. 750-ton stones. 2 layers of 500-ton stones that are laid interlaced. Now, I can't think of anywhere else on planet Earth where we put the big stuff on the top. We nearly always put the big stuff on the bottom. I've got no idea who did this or when. The Romans didn't put their biggest temples in Rome. They put their biggest temples at Baalbek. And the smallest temple at Baalbek was as big as Delphi. So, quite apart from these 3 big stones, we are looking at an absolutely huge place of completely unknown age. Now, the character that first went in there was a guy called Parrot, and he worked for the Louvre, the keeper of antiquities in France. And he wrote, apparently, and I'm still trying to track down even the name of the book, because I can't remember which of my books I read about it in, but he said that underneath this there are tunnels the size of railway trains, several of them. And he said that once you penetrate these railway train-sized tunnels, that there is just a mass of kind of caves and tunnels and cells, which is exactly what's rumoured to be, of course, under the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. And there's thought to be a connection. The other thing is that the layout of the original temple on here, one of the temples on here, is the same as the layout of the Temple of Jerusalem. And this also, if there ever was a global flood, this is the place that is likely to have survived. This is the place that is likely to have stayed above it. And what Sitchin said was this was a rocket pad. But that's what it's for.
So whereabouts in Jerusalem is that?
This one's in Lebanon, this site is. It's very difficult to get at because they've literally been on really
Is it still existing today?
It's still there, yes indeed, yeah.
Just try destroying it.
Yes, try destroying that, yes. Try blowing that one up. So that's an interesting place, and that really kind of, quite possibly, follows all the way, from the beginning of this talk, way beyond the beginning to unknown time, right the way through to the present day. And that brings us to another quick look at this idea of procession. This is another picture of the processional pole, and what happens to the Earth's pole as it kind of travels through the celestial sphere. And this is an idea from a book by John Major Jenkins called Galactic Alignment. And he points out that every single one of our cells has got subatomic particles in it, and every single one of